Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the WOR YouTube channel as we're here for the third round of the Ironman League, of course. We started the season a couple of weeks ago, and today we're heading off to another mystery track. We don't know just yet where we're heading off to, but we'll know very, very shortly as soon as we get all of our drivers in. And as always, we have an insane grid. I believe we've got 12 of the Pro Series drivers taking part here tonight, which is, I think, more than we had in both round one and round two. So we're definitely in for a treat. And alongside myself in the commentary box is Corey Brooks. Corey, you haven't been here yet for Ironman, and I
No.
promise you it's going to be a very, very eventful night.
Oh yeah, I can absolutely believe it. I'm very excited to be here to get going in the Ironman League. As we know, it is a 100% Grand Prix, so it is full race distance, but without that qualifying session. Qualifying is determined by, of course, your esports pro drivers and other drivers split up and down from the top 10 down the bottom of 11. So Nathan, you can give us a bit more insight on that, a bit more information as we wait for these drivers to get themselves in the grid and ready to go for the track we still do not know.
Indeed. So we'll have a little look at the grid here for tonight. As I mentioned, very, very competitive. And at the front of the field is the Mercedes of Balint Elekesh. Of course, that's because they are last in the standings. So they will start first and 11th. He's alongside Istvan Pukki. And of course, second place is going to be Larry Sulky in the Alpine. Third is Ben Shamakonyi in the Haas. That's going to be an interesting one because Bench is a very quick driver. Then we have Gabel Chontos in P4 alongside Diego Zorzo, Jack West in P6 in the Aston Martin, and Brendan Lee, of course, two-time F1 Esports champion, starts 7th alongside Leo Lund, who is right up at the top end of the championship. So intrigued to see what he can do from P8. P9 we have, of course, world champion Lucas Blakely alongside Luca Rapassa in the Red Bull. Of course, they are leading the standings. And then for our pro drivers, we have Istvan Pukki in P11, Danny Berejne in the Haas in P12, Yoni Tumala in the Alpine in P13, P14 is Jake Benham in the McLaren, and P15 Alvaro Caraton, 16th Duncan Hoffland, 17th in the Kicksaber we have Julian Klaffenbach, 18th Ishmael Fassi, and then the back row of the grid, as always, competitive. Otis Lawrence and Jarno Opmeer. And of course, as we know, Corey, they are probably two of, if not the two quickest drivers on the grid. I'm sure they're going to be making their way up the field quite nicely. But as we know, we have a very competitive standings both for the drivers and for the constructors.
Absolutely. I'll get a quick rundown of the overall standings now so everybody can see where things are. Otis Lawrence leads that charge in terms of the drivers with Leo Lund after he took a monumental victory last time out in round two. With Brendan Lee, like you said, that two-time esports world champion lining up in third with 23 points. Jack West, and then there you see the Red Bull duo that are currently leading the Constructors Champions, which see them at the back of the grid for the race start. Jarno Opmeer and Luca Rapassa. Nicholas Longue, reserve driver, lines up 7th in drivers with Gabor Santos, Ben Savaconia and Andre Molnar. And on to that constructors, which also determines your qualifying grid for the race start. The Red Bulls leading with 38 points, with the V-Cars trying to chase them down. That being, like you say, the mighty competitive Jan Otmar and Otis Lawrence fighting out from the back of the field, clawing through this to try and get as many points possible to help them in the championship, with Ferrari lining up in third and Kick Salvers in fourth. Aston Martin and Williams 5th and 6th. Haas and Alpine 7 and 8, and McLaren and Mercedes 9 and 10.
Indeed. And I mean, last time out we had, well, I wasn't there, unfortunately. I just finished the charity event and I was rather tired, but I did watch back the race and it was an interesting one. The weather idea, the custom weather we have, didn't quite go to plan, unfortunately, and it ended in a race where nobody could overtake, and Leo Lund won by 12 seconds over Luca Rapassa, and then Jack West finishing in third. So, of course, very successful for those three. I believe in that one, Jarno Opmeer only finished ninth, and Otis Lawrence did just jump up into that top five. But we have got the weather. But I'm not gonna tease you too much, guys, because that's gonna be a bit of a spoiler. But all I know is that wet weather is on the way, and we've got everybody in, and I see the same track on my screen that I saw 5 minutes ago. So I believe, Corey, the track we have is the track that is going to be here for tonight, and I believe it is also on the track pool.
Well, I will just pull up that track pool so everybody can get a little look and a little bit of a reminder of the tracks that you may see yet to come. And I've got to say, I don't see it though. Is it
Oh,
though? It's not indeed. So this is not our track to be. We're being played a little bit here, Nathan. We thought it's to be, and to be it is not to be. We've seen Abu Dhabi and we have seen Belgium. So those two you can cross off your list. Bahrain, USA, Hungary, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Miami being the first USA being
ooh,
Texas. Well, we've seen a change. We've seen a change, and I can't believe it. This is my favourite track, and I don't believe it. And my first time here in Ironman, and the track is to be that of my favourite, Saudi Arabia. I'm going to get us a
brilliant.
little track map up so we can just have a little quick chat about it. I think my game's just crashed.
Yep. I can't wait for Saudi Arabia.
I can't
Oh,
wait for Saudi Arabia. Bear with me for 1 second. Let me see if I can get back into the lobby. My game has just crashed.
oh
But,
dear me. That's what happens for tabbing out Corey. Oh dear me. We can't do anything right, can we, us
I was going to
commentators?
get us a nice little track map so everybody can have a little look at how many turns we've got to navigate the DRS zones and the sectors, but I've been absolutely fumbled and filled. It says, no, not today, you're not doing that. But I think I
Oh,
can still get it up for us while I wait for my game to load back up. So we'll take a
I
little
mean,
look. It's Saudi
I'm
Arabia.
immensely excited for this because Jeddah is one of my favourite tracks. Oh, in F1 it is such a brilliant track, and we can see it on our screens. There we are, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Of course, it's a 6.1 kilometre, one of the longest tracks on the calendar, I believe, just over 3 miles long. 27 corners, half of them don't exist, so I think it's probably about 20 in total. But of course, DRS zones down towards turn 1, and then of course down towards that final corner, and then also a bit of a DRS zone heading in towards that high speed chicane. So there's a lot of opportunities for overtaking around this field, but also we know that the dirty air's back, and along with that, we also have to make sure we keep our engines cool, which means drivers can't spend all that time sitting in the DRS trains and following through. They're going to have to brake out on certain straights, so that could make it rather interesting this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I am just getting myself back in the lobby so we can get all this racing action underway. But like I said, Jeddah is my favourite circuit. 27 corners that you need to navigate, get yourself through and fighting. But don't forget, there's 13 turns to navigate in Sector 1, and those S's come at you very fast flowing and can end your race. If you get yourself a bit too wide on the exits, you can beat you, end up going in a straight line, and that outside wall will collect you very, very rapidly, especially with the speeds that these drivers get themselves going. You're absolutely sending it at full throttle, trying to get one up on your opponents, and these opening laps are going to be crucial from those starting at the back.
Yes, it certainly will be. And also, tire compound at the start, I wouldn't expect to see hards, being as we have got wet weather on the way. Not straight away, but in that first half of the race, we'll see some wet weather make its way into effect. But of course, we can see the pit lane as we're getting ready now to start off the Grand Prix. Should be an interesting race. I think the two drivers, in my eyes, to watch along for are Ben McConney and Brendan Lee, because they are two Pro Series level drivers, and they are both starting in the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd keep my eyes open for Benz, and I wouldn't even count out Leo Lund to try and claw one back. He did have that victory from last time out, but we saw the weather play a massive effect on that 12-second gap on Rapasa. Now, these two drivers are known to go toe-to-toe, Rapasa and Leo Lund, so keep your eyes peeled on those two. If they get close together, expect some blows to happen. They could be fighting away, and they're not too far away from each other, but all eyes are on that front pack for Benz to see how much of a gap can he gain if he can get a charge out into turn 1, potentially around turn 2, and attack for P1 early on.
Of course, and with it being Balin Telecash on pole and Larry Talking second, they've also got big opportunities. Of course, Ballinter's been here, I think, ever since Ironman League started. And we've also had Larry Talking, I think, began this season, of course, started P3 on the grid in Spa and did get a decent finish in the end. So excited to see what he can do from second place in the Alpine car. And here we go for round 3 of the Ironman League. We have 5 lots here in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And it's like to say, it's a great start from the front of the field as we head our way down towards turn number 1. And I have been mistaken, it will be Tamas Kokani in the Mercedes here this evening as we head our way through the first couple of corners. Ben Shabakonyi will take the lead in the Haas car, straight up into P1. Chontos looking to get past Larry Talkie up the inside into turn 4 and jumps up into third in the McLaren. Further back we can see Istvan Pookie, Jake Bedamore looking to make places. A few cars that span red. I think that's Tom Robertson, Jack West off into the barriers further back there, Corey.
Oh, I think it is. Are we under its safety car? I'm not entirely sure. I will pull up a little track map so we can have a look. I was trying to keep us on board with that race start. We're at full yellow flags. Is that VSC?
I think it might be, yes.
I'm not seeing it on my screen. Does it say VSC anywhere for anybody? But we are full yellow track. There it is, yeah, on the side, VSC. So the race has been neutralised ever slowly. Jack West going straight on some debris potentially on the track that needs to be cleared up. Everybody's slowing down to that delta restricted pace and need to make sure they just keep those tyres in that operating window. They don't want to lose too much tyre temperature before we get going again for another 49 laps of racing. But the opening start of the race has been very spicy, very energetic. Drivers making moves early on. Otis Lawrence up to 17th with Jan Ottmeyer closing in after that. What was 2 cars straight on, Tom Roberts and Jack West.
Yeah, Jack West, I just noticed, Corey, I think is without a front wing right at the back of the field, so that is not ideal for Jack West. So he's glad we've got a VSC as we do go to green flag conditions. Further ahead already, we've got cars on the attack. We've got, then that's Diego Zorzo looking to make a move on Larry Tolke. Can't quite make the move there. Now Leo Lund can try and pounce on the Williams car as we head back down towards turn 1. It'd be great as well to see what tyres our front runners are running at the moment, as we do see Leo Lund having a bit of a look, and we have hard tyres for the start of this race, so they're looking to go quite long here before that wet weather starts to crumble in, as Jack West will go into the pit lane there in the Aston Martin. A bit of a poor start for him, especially since he started on the podium, finished on the podium last time out in Abu Dhabi, and there we can see Duncan Hoffland already looking to make a move.
Yeah, Duncan Hoffland looking to make his Aston Martin very racy and try and make some earlier moves on those hard tyres. They're going long, trying to make it all the way to the wet stint. We don't know when the wet is coming. It could happen at any moment. You never know with these. It is the custom weather setting, but it can be a bit unpredictable at times. You expect it to come within 10 to 20 laps, and it could come a little bit sooner than that or a little bit later. It's all for these drivers to try and judge how they can run their race. Some drivers opting for the mediums, Alvaro Caraton and Jarno Ottmeyer going for that risk. Everybody else playing it safe for the hard compounded tyres.
They certainly are. So Alvaro and Jarno are probably under the assumption that the rain's going to come early. The others are hoping it either comes later or possibly, if it comes early but they think that they can run through it, they might just stick on the hards and, you know, brave that wet weather, as we do see here. Brendan Lee looking to make a move on Diego Zorzo in towards the final corner. A big send from the kick sober. Can he get the better exit? He certainly can, and they'll pull alongside as they head their way back down to turn 1 to begin lap 3 of 50, and it is still Ben Shabakonyi in the lead. Brendan Lee looking to make a move ahead of the Williams. Are going into P6 nearly, takes the back of Leo Lund out as they head their way into the braking zone. Around the outside through turns 2 and 3, and Brendan Lee gets that move complete. And now Lucas Blakely looking to make a move, trying to get through on Diego Zorzo, and makes it work. And in 3 corners, Diego Zorzo gets overtaken by 3 championships as we head our way through the end of that first sector. On board here with Diego, certainly got a lack of pace here and is under pressure from Luca Rapassa.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just completely started to fall off the nerve there. Rapassa all over the back of him in his Red Bull, looking to try and make himself large in those mirrors. Has that inside line been opened up for him on the exit? Maybe not, as he does try to push down into Sector 2. Can he swing it around the outside? Has to back out of it, fall back in line. Meanwhile, Jay Benham to the inside there on this man Pookie. Pookie's forced off, and Jay Benham may have to concede that one. Maybe a bit of a naughty, but he does hold it and maintain that P10, takes it away from Pookie. Pookie's looking to try and claws back on Jay Benham to try and retake that position, but can't get the run down up towards 22 and has to fall back in line.
That was an immense move there by Jake Benham up into P10, of course, in his new papaya orange and black car, of course, recently joining the McLaren Shadow Esports team for the upcoming championship. And so far, decent start here in P10 after starting in P11, looking to move forward. Further ahead, the other McLaren of Gamble Chontos looking to get ahead of fellow Hungarian of Tamás Kokony down towards turn 1. But Kokony's looking for the lead, looks to go ahead of Ben Shabakonyi, and the Haas stays ahead just for now. But you can see the cars behind are starting to apply some pressure, looking to go for some moves to make some decent positions. We can see here, Johnny Tormler for a moment was looking to get ahead of Duncan Hoffland, couldn't quite do so. As we all head our way through that first sector, and Diego Zorzo is nearly a second back from Luca Rapassa. So Jake Benham and co have to look to make early moves, but Jake Benham has made a mistake.
Oh yeah, Jake Benham's really fell off the pace there. He's got some time that he needs to gain back with Julian Klaffenbach breathing down his neck. He's now going to be leading a train, his own little DRS train, as he's broke away from that front 9 pack. This could be damaging, but he's looking to claw it back. He's burning the battery to gain it back through the start of Sector 2. And he does manage to barely get within it. Does he pick up that detection point? Yes, he does. 9/10, and he does get back within that DRS. Easy pickings for Benham in his new papaya orange McLaren colours.
I mean, that was a close call there, and actually has lost a lot of time down that back straight. Could indicate he's on higher wings than some of the others, and has lost that DRS. Will his rear wing open as they head down towards the final corner? No, it will not, and that is not good for Jake Benham and all of our pros behind him. They're going to have to work hard to get back into that DRS. But here, back with the front, Larry Tulke closing in on Gabel Chantos. Leo Lund in the Ferrari, looking to pounce, looking to make moves here in the early points of this race as we head our way back to turn 1. Who's going to make moves? Tulke to the inside of Chantos. That's going to allow Leo Lund to have an opportunity into turn number 2. Can't quite make a move. Is he going to be alongside? No, not for now. But you can see he's eager to get ahead. Brendan Lee as well, all over the back of Leo Lund. And further back, I think we saw Otis Lawrence also under pressure there from Joni Tormula. So many drivers here looking to make moves. Lap 5 of 50, another 45 to go, and a bit of a twitch there from Tamas Kokani. Will lose a bit of time to the back of the Haas.
Yeah, just trying to keep my eyes on the timing screen. Looks like Brendan Lee's the one who's trying to close up to Leo Lund there to maybe set himself up for a move coming up to this next DRS straight in Sector 2. He is looking and making himself large in the rearview mirrors. That Leo Lund forced to recharge some of that battery. He may need it to defend off against this charging Kick Sauber. He does get ever closer, but with that rear wing open, does he have enough to pull on past? Oh, what a run from Brendan Lee. Is he going to try and make it to the inside line? He just can't quite get there. Leo Lund doing everything he can to defend off that Kick Sauber, and does so for now. Only on lap 5. We're still 45 laps to go, but everybody's trying to make positions early on.
Indeed, and this is a big battle for Brendan and Leo. They're separated by a couple of points in the championship in 2nd and 3rd place. So Brendan Lee makes a move. He could jump up into 2nd in that Drivers' Championship once again. So lots for Brendan Lee to do here. But also he's got to start thinking about those behind, because Rapassa and Blakely are closing in early, looking to make moves as well to jump up high up in that top 10. Jake Benham once again just outside that DRS, and he's still struggling here. But of course, if he can get comfortably back within a second, I think all his issues could be solved, as we do have Alvaro Carmaton being overtaken there by Duncan Hofland into turn 4, up into P13 for the Aston Martin, and the Williams seeming to struggle here around the streets of Jeddah. And further ahead as well, Ben Shabakonyi looks to be putting the burners on, because that gap is over 8/10 there for a moment too. Tamas Kokani. So if that keeps happening, there could be a moment where we do see that 1 second break ahead as a move there from Lawrence up into 14th.
Yeah, Otis Lawrence making valuable positions like he needs to try and charge back in this championship run in Ironman. He is leading the drivers for now, but he's also trying to bring back his team in the Constructors and challenge back against Red Bull. They're just sat there in 2nd in the Constructors, but only a few points separates them, just 3. So right now, Otis Lawrence doing everything he can to get those points and guarantee that position. Lucas Blakely doing everything he needs to for the VCARB team, being ahead of that Red Bull rival, Luca Rapassa.
Indeed, and if you're wondering what sort of points system we run, we just run the standard F1 system. 25 down to 1, P1 down to P10, as that was Leo Lund. Now taking 12 points away as he gets ahead of Larry Tulke in the Alpine. As we head our way back down towards turn number 1, Lucas Blakely, you can see, just moving out the way of that slipstream, trying to cool that engine down. Doesn't want to lose any engine power. I believe it's once you hit over 131 degrees, you start to lose a little bit of that optimal performance. So of course drivers need to make sure they're under that threshold as we head into turn 4 again. On board here with Blakely. On the back of Brendan Lee, here's Istvan Pookie on the back of Benham, who's comfortably got back within a second of those ahead, and of course Julian Klaffenbach, who I believe started 18th on the grid, is now up into P10. That is an immense start for the Kick Sauber car as we head our way back down to turn 13. The question is that's going to be Otis Lawrence there, going for a bit of a dummy.
Yeah, it's looking like he had an open door, but soon backed out of it. Duncan Hoffman's having none of it. He's going to have to try and defend this position. We've seen these two race and fight before, but So Otis, that normally comes out on top of this one, can Duncan Hoffman do anything to defend against him? Otis is really on a charge here. He's made up a couple of positions where he needs to, but at the same time, he's just sort of in a tyre conservation mode. They're all still waiting for this wet weather to come, Nathan. We've still got to take all this into consideration. The tyres, do they burn them now? Do they wait? Do they try and extend? Of course, we have those two drivers on the mediums. It's up in the air at the minute. When is the rain going to fall, and how bad is it going to fall?
Of course, and guys, if you do want to have a look at the standings as well, without our graphic, head over to the pinned message at the top of the chat, the grid finder link, and you can see the live standings there after every single round. And I believe also you can see the results from the past rounds as well. And of course, in the chat, let us know, who do you think is going to win this race? It's early. We've still got another 38 laps to go here, but anything can change. So make sure you let us know who you think will take the win here. Corey, have you got any predictions after judging what's happened here at the start of the race?
Well, apart from Jack West being 40 seconds behind, he's going to need a strategy from heaven to pull something back out of this one. Everybody's just running a DRS train. The tyre conserving. They've got to try and wait for this wet weather stint. They know it's coming. They would have seen it on their screens when applying their setups and adjusting their strats. They would have seen the weather is on the way. So it's just, they're all just taking it a little bit more preservatively now. The first 5 laps, all out. Yeah, they were going for moves. They were sending it. But now it's just, where are my tyres at? Do we need to extend? Is there a possibility we need to, I don't know, maybe go for an undercut if we start to get a few little dribbles and drabbles of rain here and there? So everybody's just being a bit more preservative now. The gaps are opening up. They're staying clear of that dirty air, staying out of that hot temperature, out of that hot air from heating up their engines as well.
Indeed, and we did see for a moment there, Bancha Bakonyi got that gap to just over a second, but it was at the wrong time because the DRS was already activated, so Tamas Kokeny pulled back to about 3/10 behind the Haas. But also we noticed that Jake Benham has a 3-second penalty. Now that's going to be crucial for his race, because if he ends the race now, he would be finishing 19th, because everybody else behind him is, I presume, within 3 seconds. And I did notice in the chat as well, somebody saying, Jarno last GG. That's only because he's leading the constructors, so he had to start last. But I'm sure he'll work his way up the field. He finished second in round 1 after starting last. So I don't think we have to have any doubts about Jarno. Opmea and Bobby Dude say, new game, same Benham. Of course, Jake Benham's not going to change, is he? In the different colours though this time, that's the only thing that's changed. Still taking penalties in the race, as Diego Zorzo has made a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we say, we saw Jarno go from the back to P2. Don't count him out. It was only last week with the weather that played the massive factor in Jarno only getting that P9. He can still pull out some form of strategy. Never doubt the man, because that's why he's a 3-time F1 World Champion. F1 Esports World Champion, should we say.
Indeed, whatever you want to call it, F1 Esports, F1 Sim Racing, just Formula 1, keep it simple. Adds a bit more pride to it, I think. But further ahead, we can see Gabor Chantos losing a bit of time to the back of Tamas Kokeny, but I presume he's just made a mistake somewhere, and at one point was around 9/10 to the rear of the Mercedes in second place, who's actually looking to think about a move. No, just sits back for now, but has closed in very nicely on the back of Bancha Bakonyi. And you can see immediately pulling out of that slipstream, trying to cool down the engine on that Mercedes as we head our way back down to turn 1. Anybody thinking about moves? I don't think there is anyone looking to make a move here. As we did see though, Duncan Hoffman was close.
Oh, Julian Klaffenbach on Benham. Oh, he just had them minerals to send one though, going into turn 1 and collected it round turn 2. Go on, Klaffenbach. Jake Benham just needs to follow back in line, not lose out too much time.
Great move indeed, but of course they're trying to just swap that DRS so they can keep it in a second, but on that occasion it's not worked, as I do think Klaffenbach hit the wall there slightly. Heading into the S, it seems like he hit the wall. Of course, no damage on that kick, but certainly it's not a mistake you want to be making, because around here it's very easy to tap a wall and end your race, and that would cause a lot of issues for yourself and your team, but also would definitely change things up further below in the grid as we head our way through Sector 2. Further back, we can see the likes of Otis Lawrence and Duncan Hoffman all closing in on each other. And Julian, there, running a little bit wide, as Jack West has unfortunately retired from the session. P4 in the standings, and he's out of the race. A big shame there for Jack West, but I mean, if it's 40 seconds back, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, he's lost some crucial points there that he could have needed, but he's not had the best race. That start was disastrous for him. He's found himself 40 seconds behind this field, and with 40 laps to go, I don't see any strategy that he could pull out that would bring him back, unless, of course, we have the safety car. We have some form of incident that can bring him back into the race. He's just way too far back.
He certainly is, and there we can see Hoffland looking to make a move ahead as also. Down to turn one, the Aston Martin has the inside line. Can he get ahead? And up into P12, he certainly can. Diego's also was going to try and hold it around the outside, but hasn't quite got the pace there. So will be demoted down to P13. Not the best starts for the Williams car as he heads his way through in towards turn number 4. I mean, must be something to do with setup, or maybe the fact Diego doesn't like the track, because in round 1 in Belgium, he was, in my opinion, one of the top 5 on the grid. He was flying until he got a silly penalty in the pit lane. So yeah, surprising to see him lose so much pace, because here comes Otis Lawrence in the RB, looking to make moves up into 13th from 19th place. Otis is on a charge here around Jeddah. Lap 11 of 50, still many to go. And of course, rain is on the radar. Not sure when, but I don't think it's that far away, Corey. I reckon within 10 laps, we'll either have rain or get ready for some rain.
Oh, I've got to say though, they've got to get ready for rain when it is to come. But here we see Danny Berezne getting through on Zozo as well. Zozo's really struggling there. It's made it easy for Otis Lawrence and Berezne to just slip on ahead before we even get into some like crucial overtaking zones. A bit of unorthodox moves, to say the least, to try and get through on what is a slow Diego Zozo. There's got to be setup related. Maybe he's just overcooked the tyres, overworked them a little bit, or maybe that engine's a little bit too hot and he's losing that peak performance. Something is slowing Zozo down.
Certainly, and I can't see him really defending from his teammates either. I'm sure Alvaro should slide up the inside quite nicely once that opportunity presents. So yeah, just a bit of a baffling one here for Zozo, but of course a long race to go. Things can change throughout the next few laps. But here we do see Lucas Blakely in the RB doing a good job so far in P7. Hasn't really had opportunities to make moves, but has just been sitting there chilling along, just, you know, running his own race, running this first stint nicely. But of course, once we get to pit stops and weather, that's when he'll start to thrive. That's when he can start to, you know, bring down some of the gaps and gain crucial time on those ahead. For now, it's just running the race, just keeping in that DRS and not overheating your tyres, not overheating your engine, just sticking behind the back of Brendan Lee, who's also closing in nicely on the back of Larry Tolkien. So we could possibly see a move from the kick quite soon. But with them being P6 and P9, this is a decent opportunity for themselves to move higher in the championship. But of course, going higher in the championship means your driver has to start further back.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Otis, I think, can deal with that form of pressure. He will be at the back of the grid if VCAV are to jump ahead in the Constructors with a good points finish in this race. If they can outscore the Red Bulls, which they currently are doing, by just a couple of points with Lucas Blakely and Luca Rapassa. But look at Otis Lawrence, the charge that he's putting on so far, from P19 up to P13 so far, where Jan Otmi is still only stuck down there in P18. He's struggling to claw back up through this field.
Yep, he certainly is. Just no way through for Jarno, but then again, we know that overtaking is not too easy here. It's hard with the DRS train, so Jarno's just got to hope that as the race goes along, he can do something different and make that work out. We have a yellow flag. That's Julian Klappenbach is out of the race. Is that going to be a safety car? And I believe, Corey, there's rain. So there we go. We've had a bit of a loss of grip, and unfortunately, Julian Klappenbach is sent off into the barriers.
That is all it took, just a few little drops, maybe collecting on one of the apexes. Klappenbach sends it in, and he's just not got the grip anymore. A little bit of the water sent him packing. He's out of it, he's DNFing, and that has brought out virtual safety car. So the rain is coming, now's the time for the drivers to get into the pits, but the thing is they're quite far back from that pit lane entry. Will we see green flags before they make it? That's the question that's going through my head. They're not actually, they might not even benefit from this, Nathan.
We'll have to see what happens here, but if the rain continues to come down, they'll have to pit. They'll have to get on a set of the inters, because the grip, you know, it's decent around here, but once that rain starts to come down, it is treacherous, especially on a track where you're constantly being beaten by walls at every angle. As we head our way back down to the final corner, let's see what they choose to do. Green flag Yeah, green flag racing again. Do they pit or do they leave it a couple more laps and just see how the weather goes?
Well, I don't know because, you know, Saudi's a very, very hot track. It's going to be high temperatures even though it is a night race.
Win.
Oh, they're in. Never mind. Those front runners
Okay.
are going to go in. Anybody else choosing to stay out? We do have that of Jake Benham. He's choosing to go on, as well as Otis Lawrence. And we see that Alpina Larry Tulke carrying. Is that Larry Tulke? It's not. That's Johnny Tormula also carrying on. Everybody else has dived into the pits. A double stack from the Red Bull duo and quite a few other teams. Benham, Lawrence, and Tormula are just not for it. They hope they can gain some.
We'll have to see what happens here. But then again, look at Ben Shabakogny. He's only came out 11 seconds back from Jake Benham. So it's not the worst strategy in the world here for those that pitted onto intermediate tyres. And you can just see how they're just struggling to get the tyres through. Of course, they've got to warm them up, but it is not going ideal. Diego Zorzo, 3-second penalty. Jake Benham, another 3-second penalty. This is not going well for Jake Benham. Gabel Chontos ahead of the Mercedes. What a move up into P2 provisionally. Of course, if that means the others have to pick, but if not, it's going to be P5 at least. A brilliant move there by the McLaren. Pounced on the mistake-ridden Mercedes as we head our way through the banked corner. You can see the tyres, the cars completely going sideways at some point. There's just no grip on circuit, and they're just going to have to brave it and get through these conditions. Benham has made a mistake. He's dropped behind Otis Lawrence. They're fighting side by side into the high-speed chicane. Benham's got the inside line off the track, goes back onto the track in the lead, and these two are struggling. They can't control the cars, Corey.
No, they're absolutely all over the place. Your Otis Lawrence as well, just struggling to follow Benham. Benham was well off the track in 22 and did very well to keep himself away from that wall. Look at the rear end as he's kicking out under braking before they can even get the rotation. There's wheel banging with Otis Lawrence also trying to make the corner as Benham slipping and sliding down into that pit lane entry. That was absolutely gruesome for both drivers. Benham's in the wall in the pit lane and he's out. That's Benham done and dusted, and there goes Johnny Tormula almost following suit. That is disaster for Benham, but with 6 seconds of penalties looming over his head, I mean, he would have struggled to pull something back anyway.
I mean, Jake Benham living up to his name. That was, I think, over-ambitious into the pit lane. That is safe disabled, unfortunately, was meeting by a purple barrier, and that is Benham out of the race. Not ideal for the McLaren. So he's going to have to, well, he's going to have to explain to his new team, not the best start to his McLaren reign here.
Oh no!
Unfortunately, out of the race. What's happened there?
Tormula drive-through penalty, speeding under VSC.
Let's have a look at the penalties. What penalty has Jana Watme received? Because at the back,
it's a drive-through. Oh no!
Well, and Ben Shabakoni as well. The leader of the race has a drive-through penalty. Along with Tormula, Roberts and Otmir, they all got caught off guard by the VSC ending. They obviously didn't have the correct delta, and unfortunately, they're going to have to pit and make a box. But here we have Kokone and Leo Lund in towards turn 14 and 15. They're sliding, they're slippering through, and Leo Lund is up into third. But Ben Chabakonyi is going to lose that lead he had all the way until lap 15.
That's just disappointment for Benz. He would have been set up there to try and put a push on this inter stint. Again, the rain, it may not last very long, and we can expect it to dry up quickly when the rain stops with how hot Saudi Arabia can be. So with Benz, his race has just been completely ruined. Certainly he's got to serve that drive-through now and get it out of the way with the rest of the drivers that have also yet to serve them. Tormula, Jana Otmir, 3 drive-throughs coming your way. Their race is severely damaged. They're going to pray for something happen later on down the line that can bring them back.
Yep, they need something here if they want to be scoring points in this race. The safety cars, they need something like that to play to their advantage. Into turns 1 and 2 we go. You can see Gabor and Leo pushing the Haas all the way through. As we head in towards turns 4, we can see Jarno, Tom and Yoni in the pits. So Tom... oh no, Tom did get a drive-through, so they're serving their drive-through penalties. Ben Shabakoni is going to leave it a lap later. Yeah, not ideal for those 4 drivers in this race, but then again we knew as soon as the rain was going to come down, chaos was going to hit. 2 DNFs, 4 drive-through penalties. Cars off the track absolutely everywhere, and that's going to be Lucas Blakely running off the road, collecting the Red Bull in the process. And now we have 3 wide into turn 13. This might not end badly. We've got Brendan Lee, Duncan Hoffland all looking to make moves, and chaos has erupted here, Corey.
It certainly has. I think that was Lucas Blakely struggling in these treacherous conditions all over the track in the Jenner S's, and has just slowed everybody down. And you saw that kick Sauber squiggling and wiggling, trying to get under braking to slow it down before he went into the back of Luca Rapassa. But they're all back in line, they're all back calm and collected. The hearts have skipped a beat, but now they can breathe.
I mean, if you looked at this, you'd be thinking they're on dry tyres. They've got no grip at all, even though they're on the optimal tyres for these conditions. I mean, it's not wet. You know, the rain's not pouring down really hard. It's just there's no grip on the surface. They've got nothing here to help them as they head their way back down towards the final corner. Lap 16 of 50. Of course, it's still Sabakonyi in the lead, but he has to pit because of that drive-through penalty in the VSC. It stays out once more. We'll go again. Gabel Chontos looking to make a move to jump up into P1 and take the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. To the inside goes the McLaren, and into the lead goes the McLaren. What can Leo Lund do in third? He's going to have to look to get a hurry on soon to try and jump up into P2. I mean, he'll take it anyway, but getting it done on track is going to be even more rewarding for the Ferrari. Further back, Tamas Kokony there losing a lot of time. 6/10, 7/10 back from Leo Lund. He's going to have to start putting his foot down if he wants to try and get a podium.
Yeah, everyone's now just in a bit of a survival mode, trying to keep themselves going in a straight line. That dry line is just not forming yet. It is still very wet, very treacherous. You can't even see a racing line on that track from my eyes. It's just absolutely pouring down, and the rain just splashing away on the tarmac. We saw the driver struggle, that of Lucas Blakely as well. How's he doing so far? Has he got through nice and cleanly? Yes, he has. He's trying to close back up to Larry Tulke after losing some huge time. But again, it's just survival mode, Nathan. They're all just trying to keep themselves out of the barriers. Rapassa just taps that rear right tyre on that outside wall. Again, struggling to keep the cars going in a straight line. They're all over the shore, slipping and sliding.
Certainly, but the pace here from Chontos is really, really good. He's got 7/10 here comfortably over Ben Sabakonyi. Of course, Leo Lund is also looking to close in on the Haas. So, Gabel Chontos has got, you know, he's got himself into these conditions now. He's into a flow, and it's just about continuing on, fighting through this weather here. So here we do see Sabakonyi, I presume, will be in the pits this lap around. Of course, we'll move over to the left-hand side, and we'll dart in as we see side by side Lee and Hoffland as they head their way down to turn 1. Lawrence is looking to close in and make a move himself in the V car. We could have a 3 wide moments here into turn 1. Brendan Lee down to P9 as we do see Lawrence looking to make the move, sends the Aston Martin deep into turn 1. They go off the track. Brendan Lee looking to make a move, gets back ahead of Otis Lawrence. They're side by side in towards turn number 4. Zorzo's 8. He's retired in the pit lane, and I think there's a bit of contact. There's Brendan Lee slightly off the circuit. Lawrence having to hook it all the way around the outside. Does so, and up into P8, and now Istvan Pukki is on the charge in P10, looking to close down on Brendan Lee, who's seeming to struggle in these conditions.
Yeah, it was beautiful driving there from Otis Lawrence. He saw the double overtake potential, went for it into turn 1 with slight contact of Brendan Lee. Just a little wheel banging, argy-bargy. Just a few little racing scrapes, we should say. Otis Lawrence does manage to pull it on through, and in these conditions makes it a little bit more magnificent.
It certainly does. You can see the rain actually looks a little bit worse on circuit at the moment, especially through this middle sector. And you can see the puddles forming. This is not ideal conditions. Here's Istvan Pukki on the back of Brendan Lee. Of course, Brendan's struggling here at the moment. He's going to have to defend the inside because Pukki's going to look for the move, but can't. He's not quite got enough to go alongside the kick Sauber. But as they head out of the chicane, down to the final corner, sliding all around, being lucky not to hit the barriers. Here's an opportunity for the Mercedes to the inside. Will pull ahead comfortably before the braking zone. Can Brendan Lee fight back? No. Stays in P10. Knows he can't fight back. And here is Tulke and Rapassa side by side, and nearly Tulke into the barriers. He's pushing the Red Bull down towards turn 1. He's going to have the inside line. He's going to look to make a move. Darts to the outside. Rapassa covers that one, and no move there for the Alpine. But you can see he's eager to get through. Rapassa is struggling really hard here. Has lost a lot of time to Lucas Blakely in P4. But the Alpine surely should have stuck to that inside line there, Corey, because he had a decent run, swapped to the outside, and then that move was done and over.
Yeah, if I were Larry Tulke, I would have stayed pinned there to the inside into turn one, tried to outbrake Luca Rapassa, because Rapassa looks like he's struggling a little bit. He's lost some time battling away with the Alpine and Larry Tulke, so now he just needs to try and claw it back, and that gap is opening up a little bit more. Is Rapassa struggling in these conditions? You said the rain did get a little bit heavier, so maybe it is a little bit more greasy as he barely keeps that rear end going in a straight line, has a little bit of a slide, but good control of that Red Bull so far.
And further back we can see Tom Roberts defending off of Jarno Opmeer. That's a battle to watch for P15. I think for a moment Jarno had the move done but couldn't quite get back alongside. As we head into turn 13, this is for P15 on circuit. Red Bull versus Ferrari. Around the outside goes Jarno Opmeer. Has he got the grip? No, he can't. He's got to look for an up and under, but can't do that either. This racing is immense here around Jeddah, but further ahead we've got battles for the lead. Chontos, Lund, Kokeny and Blakely all battling for their positions. To the outside goes Leo Lund. A bit of contact and nearly both of them heading off into the barriers. More contact into the braking zone, and Gabor Chontos loses that lead to Leo Lund. Further back, Blakely looking to apply pressure onto the Mercedes ahead as they head their way back down to turn one. Is Gabor going to fight back? I think he will.
Gabor looking for it. Can he make himself large? He's not going for any moves so far. We'll look back at Rapassa. He's doing fairly well to get a nice little breathing space to Duncan Hoffland, who's got Otis Lawrence breathing right down his neck. And then of Larry Tulke also trying to close in on it. Otis Lawrence likes to try and swing a move around 13 going into sector 2. So let's see if Otis is lining himself up for that once again. That will be the third time this race he would have pulled it off, if he can do so, to Duncan Hoffland.
Certainly would be, but you can see they're losing a bit of pace. Chontos down to third. Lund has got a penalty, 3 seconds to Leo Lund. That is not what he wants. Gabor's down to P4 as Lucas Blakely now jumps up into the podium spots. Can the McLaren fight back? No, he can't. Luca Rapassa now is on the scene. He's looking to make moves in that Red Bull as Gabor got damaged possibly because he's losing lots of time and now is potentially going to lose 3 positions as we head into the chicane. Let's see what happens here. Lund followed by Kokeny, Blakely, Chontos and then Rapassa, all heading down towards that next chicane. But here, Luca's got a good run. Has he got enough, though, to get ahead before the chicane?
Oh, I don't think so. Look at the speed Gabor Santos is pulling out here. He must be burning that battery to try and keep that Luca Rapassa from charging on by. There's no DRS to help them in this battle with the rain pouring down so far. Lap 20, 30 laps remaining, and the rain is still coming hard. When is it going to stop? Well, I say it's hard. It seems to have eased off a little bit, but it is still mighty treacherous, and there goes Rapassa on the last turn. A little bit of a switcheroo from Gabor Santos, if he can get the traction and pull that off. But he doesn't. That's a move done for Rapassa. Gabor Santos looking to line up in that slipstream and potentially size up a move to fight it back into turn one. But I think Rapassa's got that covered as well.
Yep, you could see a bit of a wiggle from the Red Bull saying, stay behind. There's no point fighting them quicker. Let's work together and close in on Blakely, Kokeny and Lund as we head our way back down to turn 4 further back. Pookie, he's looking to make a move on Larry Tulke as they head their way through. Closing in quickly on the Alpine. Isn't quite close enough there to make an overtake, but we'll certainly be looking for it maybe into turn 13 here as we head our way through the end of sector 1. Of course, a very treacherous part of the circuit. It's hard when it's dry, never mind when it's wet. As we can see further ahead, Lawrence looking to make a move ahead of Hoffland. This is for P6 into turn 13. It's the outside manoeuvre here for Lawrence. Can he get it done? Once again for the 3rd time in this race. It's going to be side by side, but I think he's got that one covered. He's got that move complete. And Lawrence started 19th, 21 laps in, is up into the top 6. And if it carries on the way it's going, it'll be P5 because of that penalty of Leo Lund.
Yeah, absolutely. Otis Lawrence on a charge and doing everything he needs to extend that Drivers' Championship lead that he currently holds and then bring VCARB to the top in Constructors. 3 points separating them from the Red Bull counterparts. But Luca Rapassa is currently outscoring Otis Lawrence and maybe doing just enough. But, oh no, he's not. Lucas Blakely, sorry, is outscoring Luca Rapassa. So there's only one Red Bull in a good point scoring position. Oh, the VCARBs are coming back with a mighty charge. Otis Lawrence up into P5 there, done and dusted. Gabor Santos, no response to that one.
No, nothing he could do about that. And we did see Hoffland as well, looking to make a move. Pookie's got ahead of Larry Torquay in the Mercedes up into P8, as here we can see Lawrence defending into turn 1. Hoffland's up into P6 there, ahead of Gabor Chontos. Danny Brezhnev looking to make moves in this race. Haven't spoken about him much in this one here in the Haas, but jumps up into P9 ahead of Larry Torquay, who's down to P10. It's not gone too well here for Torquay, and the same can go for Gabor Chontos, who's both up in the top 5. Now down to P7 and P10. Certainly not ideal conditions for those two, but look at
Come on, Santos has beached it!
From Miss Van Pookie through the S's ahead of Gabor Chontos.
Oh, Gabor just got a little bit too wide there through the S's, beached it, went straight on, the door was open, Pookie says thank you and just dives on through. That was beautiful, and here comes Berezne to the inside line on Gabor Santos as well. Santos really struggling now. Berezne picks up another open door, Santos is leaving them open.
He certainly is. Gabor Chontos has got no pace here at the moment, really struggling in these conditions. I'm convinced he's got to have some sort of damage here. There's no visual damage, but of course it doesn't, you can have damage without it showing at least. So there's got to be an issue there for Gabor Chontos, or possibly it's just the setup is completely in that wrong direction for the wet weather here. Some drivers might have got a setup which can work.
The rain has stopped.
Maybe Gabor's prepared himself just for the dry conditions, and the rain has stopped now, which means soon we'll have the dry conditions back. That means we'll be back onto the slick tyres as Brendan Lee looking to make a move up into P10. And has this rain stopping now possibly helped Chontos and Torquay, because they're a lot more comfortable when it's drier, it seems?
Maybe so. We see. Oh, there's an early door for Gabor Santos. He's diving in. He's going to take the risk. But to be honest with you, that track, I mean, it does dry up quick. As we know, Saudi Arabia is very warm. But I don't expect it to dry up too quickly. Is it the crossover? Are we seeing it right now, Nathan? I'm not seeing any water on that track.
No, normally I think it's just gone like the click of a finger, and it's starting to head to dry conditions. Tom Roberts bailing early as well. You can see the Inters are actually struggling here. They're losing grip because of it being a lot dry here. So is there a possibility that we've hit that crossover pretty much instantly around Jeddah? As we see further ahead, Lucas Blakely looking to make a send on Tamas Kokani, but can't quite get ahead there in the V-carb. He's going to have to look to shape it up into the chicane. He's right on the rear gearbox of the Mercedes. But is he close enough to go for a send? You could see he was thinking about it, but instantly the Mercedes covered that inside line immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny's having none of it. Blakely forced to stay behind, but Blakely now, will he be able to get a run coming down towards 22? This is where things get a little bit spicy and dicey, because there is a wall to that outside that can collect you very quickly. There's not a lot of runoff you can there, as you see as we go past. If you try and make it too wide coming through 22 and back around 23, it gets a little bit dicey. But certainly now is the time to pit. The track is well and truly dried out, very fast. Within a lap, the rain has stopped, and we are back to dry conditions as Lucas Blakely also tries to pull another move on Kenny, but Kenny covered it nicely, and there they go, diving into the pits for those slick tyres.
They certainly are, and let's see where Gabor comes out in all of this, because of course he put it onto hard at the instant that it went dry. And let's see, because of course he was quite far down from those in the lead. Leo Lund going for mediums as Gabor gets a penalty. So yeah, either way, he's not going to score many points here because of the penalty. He's got damage as well. That right wing end plate has gone on that McLaren, so possibly that could have been the reason why he was running so slow. But Lucas Blakely as well, going on mediums, and I mean, Corey, they surely aren't going to go to the end here. 26 laps on medium tyres.
No, you're asking a lot of the car though, you're asking a lot of the tyres. You've got to be in absolute 100% tyre saving mode for every single lap for even a sniff of those mediums going that distance. Oh, Leo Lund almost got a little bit throttle happy in the S's there and almost caught himself a spin, almost facing the wall. Well, Leo Lund and Lucas Blakely both on medium tyres. They're both going to risk it. Otis, Pookie, Brendan Lee, Yoni Tormula and Jarno Opmeer, they've all stayed out on Inters.
But to be fair, looking at Jarno here, he's not losing that much time to Danny Brezhnev. He's lost maybe a tenth or so in that last couple of corners here. So maybe we're just at a crossover point where both of the tyres can work here. Let's see what Opmeer can do though.
Eyes on those temps.
It's going to be hot, hasn't it, those Inters?
Yeah, eyes on those temps, Jarno. That's all I can say. The boys that have stayed out, Otis Lawrence, Pookie, Brendan Lee, keep your eyes on that temperature gauge. They're going to heat up very rapidly, and you know, you can't risk the slide, you can't risk losing time, not where you are. You need to box and have a good stop. Otherwise, ultimately undercut by Leo Lund, who's had a beautiful pit stop. He's going to be leading by quite a margin.
He certainly will be, and of course he needed that 3-second gap because of his penalty. So as we do see our top three head into the pits, Tamas Kokkonen again ahead of Joni Tormala, who's also had a blinder, but he's got to pit. He was also on a set of the intermediate tyres. So Leo Lund is in the lead now. Let's see, 3.7 seconds. And with a penalty hanging over his head, this is exactly what Leo Lund needs. But also, it's got to factor in, he's on those medium tyres. And I don't think they're going to get to the end. The hards might just about do it, but I don't think the mediums will, as that's going to be Brendan Lee out of the race. And is that going to be a safety car? I think it's another VSC, Corey.
Oh my god, we are under VSC. I'm going to see if we can have a look at what happened to Brendan Lee. We can't. We went on board with Bent, and I think it's turn 4. I think he's just turned in a little bit too early and clipped the wall. It happens to the best of us. It does. Don't blame yourself, Brendan. It happens to the best. It certainly happened to me a few times. I don't want to admit it, but you just, you try and anticipate the understeer on cool tyres. You flick it to the left, and it grips and catches you by surprise, and then boom, you've took off your front left tyre. It's easy done. It's easy done.
It's not what anybody wants, but that's curious though, because look at that gap. It was what, 3.5? Oh, Blakely's going to drive through, speeding under VSC. That is not what Lucas Blakely needs. He's now going to have to pit within 3 laps and drop all the way to the rear of the field. But I was just going to notice, Leo Lund was ahead by 3.5 seconds. It's now 5.2. So Leo Lund has somehow pulled a blinder under the VSC and now is comfortably ahead with that penalty. Lawrence looking to get past Rapassa to jump up into P4. But now Blakely's got to pit, which puts Otis Lawrence in 3rd after starting 19th on the grid.
Absolute stellar race from Otis Lawrence. Hasn't put a foot wrong all the way through. Had a little bit of an elbows out moment. We could be seeing 3 wide into turn 1. Not so much. Duncan Offland's bringing the fight to Otis Lawrence. Lawrence isn't fighting it too hard. Doesn't want to lose out too much time. Almost got his rear end pointing in the wrong direction, but does manage to get going again. Didn't lose out too much time to Duncan Offland though. They're all back in line, back in that train. Otis needs Duncan to keep swapping DRS in a chance to catch back up to Tamas Kokkonen, whereas Leo Lund is comfortably 5.5 seconds ahead and has been hit with another stroke of luck 2 races in a row. But those tyres again, are they going to last?
He certainly has, but also I just think along with luck, it's just been Leo Lund working his strategy to perfection, driving to perfection, and I mean a 5-second gap around here is insane. I know we've had weather and different pit stops, but either way he's still made his way from 8th up into the lead comfortably ahead of Lucas Blakely, of course, after taking the win by 12 seconds in Abu Dhabi last time around. He's going to take at the moment another 25 points away, and that is going to be perfect for him in that Drivers' Championship, but also in the Constructors, because Tom Roberts without points I don't think he's going to score any. Leo Lund can make up for that with that 25 points advantage, as we do see Otis Lawrence get past Duncan Hoffland once again.
Well, if my math is correct, if Leo Lund was to win this race, Ferrari would jump ahead of Red Bull, VCARB would be leading, and Red Bull would drop down to 3rd in Constructors. So Leo Lund is doing everything that he needs to for the team in order to get them up there in Constructors. Not only that, it helps him out massively in the Drivers. He's got 25 points after a victory last time out. Leo Lund takes another victory. That's 50 points on the table.
Indeed, and that is what they want. As we do see that we're talking there, I think with a 3-second penalty, as Jarno Opmeer sets the fastest lap, but his P13 is 14 seconds away from P10. Safe to say, not the best race for Jarno Opmeer, and I don't think it's that often we ever get to witness Jarno being right at the back and nowhere near any chance of any points in the Grand Prix. I mean, he needs a safety car here, but I don't think we're going to get one. We've had 4 virtual safety cars, no real safety cars. So I think they've now just got to focus on keeping it in the right direction, because a safety car here isn't going to fix your race, because there is none, it seems.
Well, I've got to say, even if we did get one more safety car and it was virtual, then any driver hoping for a full safety car to bring them back in the race can kiss those chances goodbye. That will be the 5th safety car, as virtuals do class as a safety car in the count. So we have a maximum of 5 per Grand Prix, I think. Or is it extended in 100%?
I think it's just a normal 5. It might be longer. I'm not too sure, but I think it is just a normal 5. But here we do see Lucas Blakely serving that drive-through penalty. Danny Barrage taking the fastest lap in the Haas car. He's up into P5, a decent drive so far by Barrage. Of course, it's not gone to plan too well for Ben Shabakoni, of course. Was in the lead comfortably, had really good pace in the Haas, but unfortunately got a drive-through penalty under that first. The SC now sits in P11 as he's overtaken Joni Tormela.
It's just, I don't know, Otis Lawrence, I just kept my eyes on him for a second. He's been fighting very hard with Duncan Hoffland. They've swapped positions a few times, but he's not really making too much of a dint into closing up to Tomas Kenny, so they're still at that 1 second gap. Now, a podium would be great for Otis to help him out in the championship. Still early days in the championship, so far only round 3, so still a lot of points to gain, but so far things are just slowing down. People are just running their own little pace and just extending. I reckon the final 10 laps are certainly going to spice up, Nathan.
I think they certainly will, because there's still a lot of untold stories here in this Grand Prix. As we head our way back down towards the final corner, here is Duncan Hoffland under pressure from Danny Barrage in the Haas as we head down to the braking zone. Is the Haas going to make a move? No, sits back for now, but Duncan's also starting to close in on the back of Otis Lawrence here, so we could have a nice little battle here for P2 down to P5 in this race. Of course, that consisting of Cockney, Hoffland, Barrage and Cockney, Lawrence, Hoffland and Barrage as we head our way back down to turn 1, and also Luca Rapassa. They're still in that DRS of Istvan Pookie, but they've also got to work together to bring that gap down.
Otis Lawrence taking fastest lap of the Grand Prix, sitting comfortably in P3. He's within that DRS now, but Leo Lund starting to pull a bit more of a time gap away from Kenny. I wonder if Kenny's struggling a little bit with made a bit of a mistake that has allowed Otis to claw himself back up to the charge at the front. Still 6 seconds almost for Leo Lund. That 3 second time penalty almost doubled in the gap, so he's more than comfortable out there in the lead.
And that is what Leo Lund needs. Because of that penalty, I was thinking, right, that's his race done in terms of a podium, but he's got such a comfortable margin there. The only way he loses this is by a mistake, because I'm confident that we won't get a safety car because they just haven't existed. And I'm confident that he won't make a mistake, but if he does make one, of course, that probably is going to be race over for him. So he's just got to keep it on the track, doesn't have to push too hard, as long as he's keeping a nice gap to Tamas Kokani and those behind. But Otis Lawrence is closing in now. He's bringing that gap down to the P2 Mercedes. Further back, Barrage looking to make a move ahead of Hoffland. Hoffland has to defend that inside line. Caraton ahead of Tulkey. That's for P8 here in this race, and the Williams now up into the points. The other one of Diego Zorzo is out of them, as we do see Lawrence up into P2. A nice move up ahead of Tamas Kokani, and now you can see what he can do. Can he close down on the back of Leo Lund as Tulkey retakes that P8?
Bit of a DRS swap in there from Larry Tulkey and Avara Caraton. Williams and Alpine working together to try and gain some time back. 4.8 seconds separating them from that little bit of a DRS trainer, Luca Rapassa, Phuket, Beresne, Hoffland, Kenny and Lawrence. And Leo Lund still 5.5 seconds clear. Everybody's just, again, 20 laps to go, not taking too many risky moves. We see the not so practical teamwork, should I say, between Alpine and Williams, trying to just gain back every bit of time that they can. They're not fighting, they're not risking dropping any more tenths that they could need towards the end of the race.
As we do see there, Joni Tormela taking a 3-second penalty. Both Alpine cars with a penalty heading into this race. They already started P2 in the race, which means they are P9 in the constructors, and now looks out to their demise. They could be on for barely any points here in this race as we head back through in towards the final couple of corners around this circuit. Off board with Tulkey and Caraton, as here is Lawrence and Kokani heading into the final corner. Hoffland looking to close in on the Mercedes. Has a decent run here as we head our way back down to turn 1. Can the Aston Martin get ahead? Can he jump up into that podium spot? He's going to close in, close. Pulls to the inside, but no, backs out.
Oh no, just not close enough there. Wasn't feeling brave enough on the brakes. Doesn't want to risk burning the tyres that he could potentially need later on. Again, like I say, it's just tyre preservation. If the door is open and it's an easy picking move, go for it. You don't want to risk anything happening, any unwanted damage, battling away with any of your rivals. You're just going to save it all for the final closing laps. It's setting up, it's like a long game of chess, Nathan. They're just setting themselves up for the final push, the final battle towards the checkered flag.
They certainly are, and people send in the chat, Jarno crashed me. I mean, he hasn't crashed. He unfortunately received a drive-through penalty for making a silly mistake under the VSC, and also started 19th, but that was no choice of his own. That was because they are P1 in the constructors, so yeah, Jarno's not had the best race, but it's not all down to him. It's down to just not having any luck on his side this evening, unfortunately. But with 19 laps to go, there's certainly a chance for something to happen here to help him close in a little bit more and potentially take a couple of points away. As here we see once again the battle for third place. Tamas Kokani is lost that 1 second. Hoffland to the inside will look to jump up into P3, needs it because he needs to get back within that DRS of Otis Lawrence. If Otis can pull away, that's that P2 sorted for him here, because look, that gap now 1.1. He's got to hope he can just keep pushing it, but Hoffland's got to keep bringing that gap down.
Yeah, well, that 1 second gap that Otis Lawrence has gained on Hoffland, he's took a chunk out of Leo Lund's time. 4.4 seconds separating those two. Otis making a charge for the lead.
He certainly is, and of course, I think round 1 got P2. Last time out didn't get a podium, but now is looking to go for P1. Going one step further, looking to win here around Jeddah, and of course would put Red Bull VCOB easily into that championship leading spot. So Lawrence has got not that much work to do really, because look at that gap core rate. It's gone from 5.5 to 3.8 within 2.5 laps. Give it another lap, it'll be down to 3 seconds here. Give it 10 laps, he'll be down and within a second.
Absolutely, he's absolutely charging and dropping seconds. He's not dropping tenths, he's dropping seconds per lap. It's literally one down, next lap, another down. 3.5 separating them from what was almost a 6-second gap between Leo Lund and Tamas Kokeni. But through Otis Lawrence goes, through Duncan Hoffland goes, and Otis Lawrence making a mighty charge to try and chase down Leo, who was very comfortable and is now certainly starting to feel some pressure.
He certainly is, as we head our way through into the final couple of corners once again, and we do see, of course, 5 cars involved in this battle here. Hoffland leads that one as we head down to turn 1. Brezhnev looking for an attack on the Mercedes of Tamas Kokeni, swaps to the inside. He's now going to look to get ahead of Hoffland, but can't. Pookie ahead of Kokeni as well in that second Mercedes. And now Merck are looking to score some decent points, P5, P6 so far. And they certainly have a chance to move higher, I think, in this race, as we do see there Brezhnev, a bit of a snap of oversteer through turn 4, but collects it and continues on comfortably on the back of Hoffland. I don't think it's that long before he also looks to jump up into P3.
Yeah, Kokeni's struggling a little bit here. I wonder if his tyres are just not what he's comfortable with, or maybe just a bit too much temperature, because he's lost out some quite a few positions. He was up there on the podium spot, and now down into P6. Luca Rapassa looking to try and close up on him as well. Tom Roberts picks up another penalty. That's unfortunate for him. Ferrari not doing too well. It's only Leo Lund who's leading the charge for them, and can hopefully score back some much needed points to try and strike up in constructors and jump ahead of Red Bull, who've only got Rapassa in that points finishing position. Jarno having a disaster race. I'm starting to think I'm Jarno's bad luck charm. Every time I've done commentary on Jarno twice. The first time he had a bad race, the second time he's having a bad race. I'm starting to think I'm his bad luck charm. Brezhnev closing in on Duncan Hoffland. Is anything to come? Not that I've seen so far. Uh-oh, I think something's happened. Never mind. It is Brezhnev diving up into the lead. I had to take a quick look at my Discord, and overall good, overall good. Duncan Hoffland not able to defend that one against Brezhnev. Brezhnev up into the podium spot. And Duncan Hoffland trying to close back up and not lose out too much time. Could try and strike back and retake that position away. Everything's calm, everything's smooth and flowing. But Leo Lund, now only 2 seconds separates him from Otis Lawrence. Otis Lawrence on a master charge. Just 2 laps ago, that was a 4-second gap. And now it is a 1.7 second gap. Otis Lawrence can certainly see that Ferrari within his sights. And DRS is just a couple corners away with the way that he is gaining on that Ferrari ahead. Nobody else looking to try and strike back and make any potential overtakes, any potential moves coming in the order. And Duncan Hoffland, he's maybe struggling on the tyres, I'm not too sure, but Phuket also running a little bit close. I'll be quiet on Duncan Hoffland as he gains back some time on Beresney. Beresney all over the place there, coming through 22. And here comes Duncan Hoffland with a beautiful run with the DRS. He's going to make that overtake nice and easy.
Indeed he does, up into P3 there for the Aston Martin. Of course, we can see further back there, Luca Rapassa is gaining in quickly on the back of Tamas Kokani, and the Mercedes, a bit of a slide there for the Merc. He's going to allow Luca Rapassa to possibly go up the inside and make a move. Into P6 goes the Red Bull of Luca Rapassa. An easy move up into P6, and of course, looking further ahead there, Otis Lawrence within a second of Leo Lund. Now, I didn't expect that gap to come down so quickly. It just shows the lack of pace that some of those had ahead of Otis Lawrence, but also it shows how quick Otis Lawrence is. His pace is electric at the moment in that V-carb. Is within 8/10. I think the win here is over for Leo Lund, but a podium is still more than possible if he can play his card right and use Otis Lawrence for DRS. If he just battles hard and loses time, that podium's over, but if he lets Otis through, and then of course just sticks on the back of him, there's an opportunity, there's a chance for that P2 to be revitalised here as we head our way through. Down towards turn 22, 3 and 4, Otis Lawrence should have it done by the time they get back down to turn 1, because of course they have DRS here, DRS on the next straight, and then DRS down to turn 1 as well.
I expect Otis Lawrence to wait until the run down to turn 1, just to prevent Leo Lund from striking back coming down into turn 1. So if he was to do it now here, sector 3 yellow flags, that's a spinning Tom Roberts, but Tom Roberts got himself going again. So again, yeah, Otis not overtaking. He's going to wait for the run down to turn 1 so that Leo Lund can't pick up the DRS down this pit start finish straight to stop Otis Lawrence from getting past. But here he goes. He's going to try and close up. Is the move coming now down into turn 1? He's going to send it, try and go later on the brakes. No, he's going to wait. Recharge that battery under the DRS as Danny Beresney does slip on through on Duncan Hoffland. And that's another podium guaranteed for Beresney unless Hoffland can do anything about it to slow him down. I've got to say, Beresney has ran a really good race so far. Got himself back up to the podiums and he's looking for a P2 finish.
Indeed, started P13, now up to P3. A really good race here by Beresney, and I think as long as he just keeps playing his cards right, a P3 is more than possible here for the Haas. As we do see, of course, ahead, Lawrence and Lund. Lawrence choosing to stick back behind Leo Lund, and I mean, that's not what Leo wants, because that's allowing Beresney and Hoffland to close in. But of course, if Lawrence took the lead and then Leo Lund could follow him through, that would be a lot better, because Lawrence has more pace. So that's a crash further back. That's Joni Tormela in the Alpine, being overtaken by Shabakoni. I wonder if that was contact between himself and the Haas, because they were very close together on track. And next minute, we did see Tormela off the circuit. But now Jarno Opmeer jumps up to P12, has got 7 seconds to P10. As here we do see, oh, we've got moves happening everywhere. Otis Lawrence ahead of Leo Lund, up into P1.
Yeah, absolutely. Leo Lund now will pick up that DRS as we come down the start-finish straight, and we'll be able to stick behind Otis Lawrence with a 2-second breathing space gap from Danny Beresney. The gap should start to open up a little bit more. He just needs to sit behind and not lose out too much time to Lawrence ahead, as Lawrence shows his spectacular pace through the S section and starts to bridge a couple of tenths gap now.
Indeed he does, and we can see, of course, further back, Jarno's now within DRS of Ben Shabakoni, so could be on for P11 here. Could Jarno Opmeer, considering he was about 15 seconds off P10. He's now got, you know, he's now halved it pretty much, so Jarno Opmeer's got some great pace under that Red Bull. So he's doing a really good job working with what he's got, as Tormela's out of the race, I presume. Has pitted, has been given a 10-second penalty. I'll be surprised if he continues on, and if he does, fair play to the man, because a lot of drivers, you know, including myself, would have called it quits at that point. There's no point continuing on, because you're not gonna, you're not gonna have any chances in the remainder of this race. And we can see, look at that at the front. Otis has nearly gapped Leo Lund within a lap. And that takes something, because Leo's been quick this race, and to nearly gap him instantly when they are, well, one tier apart, Leo Lund probably would fit into tier 1 comfortably. That shows the pace that Lawrence has got, but of course DRS aids Leo and allows him to close back in, and that's what they need to bring that gap up to Hoffman, because look at that, it was 1.7, now it's 2 seconds. They need to keep doing that and bringing that gap up for Leo Lund, otherwise now he could be dropping down towards P6 here at this rate now, because that gap's just coming down constantly.
Yeah, I've got to say though, Leo Lund's managed to catch himself back up to the back of Otis Lawrence, but further down the field, Beresne and Duncan Hoffland still fighting away, swapping positions for that final podium position. Where's it going to play out? I'm just unsure on who could potentially make any last-minute charges within the next 12 laps. We do have 12 laps of racing yet to go. Jarno Opmeer moves up under DRS to P11, but there's still a 7-second gap to Lucas Blakely if he wants to try and get back in the points. But with 12 laps, he needs a second a lap.
He certainly does, and it's going to take a lot, isn't it? That's for sure, as we continue our way on. And here is Opmeer. He's 7.2 seconds on the rear of Lucas Blakely, of course. Penalties could get applied to drivers ahead, and that could help Jarno Opmeer, but for now, there's nothing he can do, and Jarno has called it quits in the pit lane, and will be the end of his race. And I mean, for a chaotic Jeddah like this, I don't think we can really blame them for having 7 DNFs here, because it has been an eventful race. That's safe to say. If it was a dry Jeddah, then I'd be questioning it, but I think we can let them off this evening.
Yeah, that wet stint certainly threw a shake in the order, a bit of a mix-up. And Leo Lund has found himself back at the front, fighting away. The wet weather doing him a lot of favours, but he has been very, very fast all race long, like you say. And now he's just sat there with Otis Lawrence, using that DRS to try and stay away and regain that 3-second gap to Hoffland and Beresne, as he certainly will do. We see at the back there, Beresne retaking that podium spot, and Istvan Pukki just closing up a little bit more to Duncan Hoffland.
Indeed, we'll have to see what Pukki could do as well, because he's in a good spot in P5. He's going to be looking to try and get up into P4 and P3. Of course, the two Hungarians split by the Dutchman of Duncan Hoffland in the Aston Martin, and Luca Rapassa doing a really good job of himself, just sitting comfortably on the back of the train from 3rd to 5th. So he could also be looking to jump a bit higher if this race goes towards him within the remaining 11 laps of the Grand Prix. Further back, we can see Larry Tulke still in that DRS of Alvaro Carreton, so it does show as well he's got some decent pace in that Alpine. Even though he dropped back in the rain, he's dry pace, he's fine, you know, he's comfortably sticking on the back of Carreton.
Tulke, I think he's pretty happy where he is. They've been exchanging DRS, you know, we've seen it earlier on in the racing stint. They've just been sort of relaxed and not losing out too much time, but I think we see these two fight it out for that track position in the final closing laps. Alvaro's very comfortable though, but so is Tulke, and I doubt they're going to retake that 4-second gap to Tomas Korkeni, but Korkeni's struggling. 3.5 seconds he's fell off to Luca Rapassa, when at one point he was right up there in the fight.
He certainly was, as we do see here yet again. Another move possibly being made. Leo Lund's pitting. Leo Lund has decided to pit with 10 laps to go, but of course he was on mediums. We couldn't get to the end on those, so he's going to have to go in and take softs, I presume, here to the end of this race, or mediums. He's gone mediums again. This has not gone to plan here for Leo Lund, and I presume that means the same has to happen for Lucas Blakely in the V carb. So Leo Lund's chance of a podium, he's gone, gone, and gone. But now that puts Duncan Hoffland, Daniel Beresne comfortably into podium spots. But that gives Pukki and Rapassa that slight more chance to get themselves on that podium step.
Well, now it's all a fight for P2 and P3. Otis Lawrence has well and truly checked out of this Grand Prix, and it's not too surprising. He's certainly shown his dominance here at Saudi Arabia in the past, but with that 4-second, bridging to a 4-second gap with 10 laps to go, certainly been Otis's race to lose. Duncan Hoffland now needs to try and defend off 3 drivers looking to take that P2 and P3 position. Beresne, Pukki and Rapassa coming to try and take it all away.
They certainly are. This battle is going to be intense for the podium, because all 4 drivers deserve it, and only 2 of them will have that opportunity, because Tomasz Kokeny, Larry Tulke, all of those guys I don't think have any chance now because of penalties and their respective gaps to those in that top 5. So it's all to play for with our top 5 here. Lotus Lawrence has checked out 4 seconds now ahead of Duncan Hoffland, and then of course Danny Berejne is sitting behind, looking to make a move in towards turn 1. But Backsay was just looking to go to the inside, and that allowed Istvan Pukki for a moment to go up the inside of Berejne, but had to back out because he didn't want to end up sending Berejne round. That would not have been ideal as they head their way through that first sector.
Now, I don't want to pick up any form of incidents and have anything looming above his head after the Grand Prix. I'm not too sure if there's any stewarding or anything. It's my first time here in the Ironman League, and it's been a hell of a race, to say the least. The first time I've seen rain in Saudi Arabia. So, hey, it's a new experience all the way around for me. But as we look on to Danny Berejne, can he close up to Duncan Hoffland a little bit more, a little bit closer to potentially try and start moving for positions, as we've got a 9-lap race between 4 drivers for the podium.
Indeed, as we continue on, 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Berejne, yet again, just sitting in that DRS. He's actually starting to lose a bit of time there on the back of Hoffland in that second DRS zone. But of course, sometimes it's a bit better to be further back. Of course, he's not going to have as much dirty air, which is going to help the tyres, but also it means that the engine isn't going to get as hot because he's not as close, and he's in much of a slipstream than he would be if he was right on the rear of Duncan Hoffland as they head to the braking zone of turn 27. Further back, we can see Caraton looking to make a move on Larry Torkey. Leo Lund gets ahead of Lucas Blakely in P9 here for Lund. With that penalty, that's going to harm him, as we do see, of course, that Ferrari up into that top 9, and is going to close in quickly on the back of Caraton and Torkey, who have 17-lap-old hards. Leo Lund's on 2-lap-old mediums, has taken the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Side by side ahead, Caraton still ahead of Torkey, up into P7 for the Williams, and these two are just going to keep swapping between P7 and P8, but give it time. Leo Lund is going to jump into the battle and probably get past both of them quite quickly.
Yeah, Leo Lund. I'm interested to see how much time he's going to gain on that fresh medium compound. He needs to try and charge past through Larry Tulke and Alvaro Caraton, but then there's a 4-second gap to Tomas Kokinen. How much of that time can he chip away, as he's already almost gained a second on Larry Tulke?
Indeed he has. As we continue our way on, here's Leo Lund in the Ferrari looking to make moves. He's right on the rear gearbox of Larry Tulke into the chicane. DRS zone, of course, DRS will be activated in the DRS zone very shortly here for the Ferrari. Burning the battery, wanting to get that move done nice and early to the inside. Of course, that will be the outside through there. Into P8 goes Leo Lund, and now can focus on closing in on Alvaro Caraton in the Williams. Only half a second ahead. Could either go for it here into the final corner, but also could just play it safe and go for the move down to turn 1. As Torquay, though, is closing in, that could force Lund to making a move early into the braking zone, and Larry Torquay does just sit back and allows Lund to stay in that P8, and now close in and make a pretty easy move up into P7.
Oh yeah, you can see how much more traction that Leo Lund has on those fresh mediums, just the way he's got the power down coming out of the final corner. He was right on the rear of that Williams before the DRS was even enabled, ready to pounce and take that position away, and already it has gained half a second coming through the first 2 turns. The grip difference is astronomical, and Leo Lund 3.4 seconds to Tomas Kokinen.
Indeed it is, as we head our way through this first sector again, and just look at the grip that Lund has. The car just does what he wants it to do. It's like the 2023 Red Bull. It does whatever you need. And he's now looking to close in on Tomas Kokinen as well. I think his main concern is bringing that gap up to 3 seconds ahead of Alvaro rather than closing in on Tomas, because, I mean, it's going to be a lot harder to close on Tomas than it is to pull away from Alvaro, because Alvaro just doesn't have that much pace here in that Williams this evening.
2 seconds already. There's a 2-second gap from Leo Lund and Alvaro Caraton already. The tyre difference certainly showing, but that means it's 1.8 to Tomas Kokinen. Leo Lund is absolutely flying out there. 1.6 and closing. He's going to have probably a move on Kokinen within the next lap.
Certainly possible. It's definitely going to be close here. I don't think he'd bring that gap down that quick, to be fair, but he certainly has. Electric on pace here as we head our way back down to turn 1. Pukki, though, is on the back of Danny Berejne. That gap is just under 2 tenths here between P4 and P3. Is there going to be a move into turn 4? No, not quite close enough here, but He's closing in. Oh, notice it disconnected. Otis Lawrence has disconnected from the session and that gap is flying down. That is not what Otis Lawrence needs.
Oh my word, you want to throw a curveball or a spanner into the works? That's exactly what can happen. Otis Lawrence 5-second gap is dropping 4.4 and closing ever more. It's now 4 seconds gap and it's just going to drop tenths and tenths corner after corner until Otis Lawrence gets himself back into the lobby. Is it a game crash or is it just a disconnect? The longer we wait, the more time he loses.
Indeed, that is not ideal for Lawrence, and of course, of all the times for him to disconnect, it's on lap 44 when he has such a big lead. I don't remember the last time I saw Otis disconnect in a race, so this is not a common occurrence here for Lawrence. And Duncan knows there's an opportunity on the cards, there's a chance for a P1, so he's going to push like hell, bring that gap down, as Leo Lund takes another penalty, and now means that he's going to have an even harder chance of getting and keeping that position ahead of over O'Carrollton, and they gets ahead of Kokeny, but needs to pull another 3 seconds here to keep a P6 in this race. As we head our way back to turn 1, Brezhnev looking to make a move, and Lawrence has got back in at the perfect time. Into turn 1, he's back in the session. Is there DRS here for Duncan Hoffman? It's 1.1. He can't take over the car yet, it's still ghosted. Is he not able to take over the car, Corey?
I've not seen him in control. He's still ghosted, and Duncan Hoffman is within DRS striking distance. I'm still not seeing Otis Lawrence in control of the car, and with 5 laps to go, this is a big spanner in the works as Duncan Hoffman closes into that ghosted state and passes through with ease. Is Otis Lawrence back in control? I think he is, right there on the exit of this Jeddah S's, and finds himself in P4 and has got a fight on his hands to try and get back through.
Well, I mean, we now have a 5-way fight for the lead. This is going to get intense. This is going to get interesting as Lawrence makes a send to the outside of Pookie. And I think made a bit of contact, didn't get damage, but at any other point that could have certainly been not ideal there for Lawrence and Pookie. As DRS is enabled, once again, down towards turn 22. Is there an opportunity? No, not into here, but there will be into the final corner. Lawrence off the track, that's going to be a track limit violation warning. 3 of those, and that's a penalty. And he's got to hope he didn't have any before, because if he already got 1 and that's his second, he can't afford to take any risks. Inside! Oh my, that was a send and a half. I think he nearly ended up sending the car around. He jerked the wheel that quick. As we head our way back then to turn 1, he's up into P3.
Wow, Otis Lawrence elbows out, sending it anywhere he can, but it's Van Pookie's not letting it go easy. A little bit of a wobble, looking left and right to try and slip on past that V-car, but it's just not coming his way. He did try, but it did not happen. The Mercedes is stuck behind that white V-car, and now Otis Lawrence needs to try and get him back and make a charge back for the lead of the race, but Duncan Hoffman has just got to try and defend like he's got a gun pointed to his head.
This is going to be an intense final 3 laps, because along with obviously Lawrence being quick, he's also going to be enraged. He's going to be angry about what happened, you know, to his race. A 5-second lead down to P3. So he's going to be eager on making moves. He's going to be aggressive. So the drivers have got to be ready for that, because an angry Otis Lawrence is not the car that you want behind you. That is for sure. So let's see what Lawrence can do, because he's going to have to get aggressive. He wants that win minimum now. He was in that spot. He should be in the winning position, so he's going to fight for it hard as we head our way back down towards turn 22. Let's see what happens here. So they're all starting to close in again. The gap's around 5/6 of a second. And Leo Lund, imagine if we didn't have that penalty, because look at the gap. It's 1.7 seconds. If we didn't have that penalty, he could have had a chance of a podium here, because he's closing in really, really quickly. As Tolkien again with a penalty.
Yeah, absolutely, but trying to keep my eyes on Otis Lawrence, who's still looking to try and pick up the pieces of what has been his disconnection and back in. His stream went down, we saw Luke say in the chat, so maybe some form of internet issue, but he got himself back in, and with 3 laps to go, he's right on the rear tail of Danny Berezny. He may be able to get that moved on early, and I think, like you said, Nathan, Otis is driving angry. The way he sent that car into the final turn, absolutely jerking that wheel, almost spinning the car around to get that overtake done, and what a send that was. He's looking like he's driving a little bit more aggressively than he was, a bit more calm and controlled throughout the entire first 45 laps of this Grand Prix.
Indeed, as Yoda Opme gets ahead of Blakely. Opme is into the points here after having such a difficult race and points looking never to be on the cards. He's now up into the top 10 and actually might get P9 because of the 6 seconds penalty for Larry Tolkien. So Opme could be on for 2 points for the Red Bull team. Luca Rapassa is at the moment looking to take 10 away, but of course anything can change in these next couple of laps. Of course, after this, it's 2 to go. Hoffland's in the lead ahead of Brezhnev. Lawrence, though, is closing in. He's hungry. He wants that P2 spot. He wants that win away from Danny Brezhnev. He's going to burn the battery. He's closing in. Is it enough this time around to make a move? But Danny's going to be forced as well to make a move because he needs to keep that P2 spot as we head our way in towards the final corner. Lawrence is up the inside. Can he get a better exit than Brezhnev? No. But now they both have to try and attack because Brezhnev doesn't want to be P3. He's going to have to go for a move on Hoffland.
Yeah, Bereznev's forced into an attack mode as Otis Lawrence puts the pressure on, and look at that as they go side by side into turn 1 and end up slowing down. Bereznev falls back into the line. Duncan Hoffland still leading the charge and Otis Lawrence bringing a lot of pressure, but Pukki and Leo Lund have caught back up with Rapassa. Leo Lund still has that 6 second looming above his head, so he's not in this fight. He's not going to break a 6 second gap no matter what he does within these next 2 laps, but he can hopefully fight for positions and make it a little bit more fun for himself, as he does certainly try to fight for. He goes side by side with Istvan Pukki, those fresh mediums working wonders, and it's easy done into turn 13. It's a shame that Leo Lund has got that 6 second above his head because this strategy is certainly well and truly on.
Yeah, it is a big shame because this could have been an insane strategy here by Leo Lund and his engineers, but unfortunately he's going to drop down to P7 here because of his penalty. I can't see him pulling 6 seconds on Rapassa now. That's definitely not going to happen. But Lawrence is closing in again, just applying pressure onto the back of the house of Danny Brezhnev as we head our way back down towards the final corner, heading on to the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. And Lawrence wants that win. So does Hoffland, so does Brezhnev. But of course now Pukki and Luca Rapassa have no chance. But here comes Leo Lund to the outside of Lawrence. Lawrence has to defend, looking to the outside and can't quite make the move. But Leo Lund is now entering into the battle. He's got no chance of taking any actual positions, but he wants to make moves. He's to the inside of Lawrence.
This could be exactly what Duncan Hoffland needs if Leo Lund can put himself between Otis Lawrence and Bereznev and make it ever difficult for Lawrence to get on back. There's a switchback from Leo Lund, a switcheroo. Done and dusted on Otis Lawrence. Take a bow. Nicely done. Easily done with that tyre difference. And Leo Lund now makes it ever harder for Otis Lawrence to try and take back that victory. He puts another car in the way, a car that's ready to attack and a car that's ready to defend. Danny Bereznev could be the one favoured for victory here, unless Leo Lund gets himself ahead of Bereznev early on and makes it ever harder for Bereznev to take on Duncan Hoffland.
Indeed, and I mean, from what we've seen this season so far, and what we've seen on a whole on F125, if this young Swedish man does not get a dev seat this game, I will be absolutely baffled, because he is on par with the F1 drivers. He should be in a dev seat. He is insane, and now, after being so far down, yes, we know he's got that tyre difference, but he's still got his way back up to the front. Without those mistakes of the penalties, he would have been on for a podium here. As we head our way back down to the final corner, looking to begin the final lap of the Grand Prix. Brezhnev is closing in because he knows he's got to be careful of the Ferrari behind. Stays in P2. Hoffland is now going to be shivering because he's got Brezhnev and Lund behind, who will be on the attack, looking to make moves. He pulls to the inside immediately. He wants that top spot heading into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. We see a bit of a fight going on from Otis Lawrence and Istvan Pukki behind. But through goes Leo Lund with a big send into turn 1. He's got the tyres to do so. That's one position gain. He sets his sights on Duncan Hoffland. It is the final lap. If you need to gain time, now is the time to do it. You have no more time to do so. But for Leo Lund with that 6 second above his head, this is all up in the air. He could have won this and he'll be kicking himself for those track limit violations. That strategy was well and truly on. But Duncan Hoffland looking strong for the win, as Bereznev still needs to catch up crucial time if he wants a sniff of this victory.
He certainly does. We've got a few corners to go in this race, and Duncan Hoffland started in P16. He's now in the leading spot. But of course, Lund and Bereznev could also change this result. The penalties for Leo Lund will most likely, 99.999%, will not get removed. So either way, he's going to finish P6, but he can still change the results of this race in terms of where Duncan, Danny and Otis sit at the moment. as we head our way into turns 22, 3 and 4 for the final time in this Grand Prix. Berejny is pushing hard because he should be in second here. He should be the one fighting for the win, but he won't be. It'll be to Leo Lund, who's going to look for the attack. Down into the final corner, Hoffland is going to be on the outside. Leo Lund sends it late on the brakes. Hoffland gets a bit of a poor move, and now Berejny is right on the back of the Aston Martin. Who will win here? Around Jeddah, here in Saudi Arabia, it will be Duncan Hoffland who wins ahead of Leo Lund, but a penalty denies him a podium. He drops down to P6, and it'll be Berejny in P2, and Otis Lawrence rounding off that podium after being in the lead by over 6 seconds. An internet failure drops him down to the P3.
Wow, what a race. And Duncan Hoffland makes it your third race victor in the Ironmans. 3 rounds, 3 different winners. Danny Berejny chasing down that victory but couldn't quite get there after Leo Lund does a stellar strategy but just falls ever short. Wow, what a Grand Prix. Pookie lining up 4th and Rapasa. Leo Lund in 6th inevitably with Caratana. Yano with that comeback after the drive-through up to P8 does get within the points. Kilkenny in 9th, Benson 10th, Larry Tulke 11th, Lucas Blakely I presume was higher than that but has left, so it puts him down into P12 in a DNF state, and Tom Roberts finishing off the order.
It certainly does. What an ending that was there in this race. And Leo Lund could have been a different story, could have been a podium. Lawrence could have been off it, but of course penalties applied, puts him back onto that top 3 spot. But I mean, everything just changed. Every lap we had something unfold.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a mighty fine race to say the least. The start, moves being made, that wet stint through a spanner and a curveball in there, not to mention Otis Lawrence disconnect, which saw him 5 seconds in the lead, demoted down to nothing more than P3. Disaster for Otis Lawrence after he was so comfortable here in Saudi Arabia with that lead. Oh, unfortunate, but that is racing. It can all turn on a dime at any moment.
It certainly can. And of course, we can see the final results of this race. It was Duncan Hoffland who took the win ahead of Danny Berejny, Otis Lawrence in 3rd. Pookie, Rapasa, Lund, Caraton, Otmea, Kokony and Saber Konyi running off our top 10. Then we had Larry Tulke, Tom Roberts and Lucas Blakely. And then we did lose Tormala Lee, Chontas, Zorzo, Benham, Kapperbach and Jack West.
Oh, Benham.
So, yeah, a big shame for Jake Benham, or Jake Binham as he should be known for that one, because that was... yes, an interesting way to enter the pit lane, but hopefully we'll have an interview from at least one of our top 3. I have put them a little message in, so let's see if they join for an interview. But what a race, what an ending. I mean, Ironman always seems to deliver here. That 100% race really changes things around.
Of course, you've got to think about tyres as well. How long are the tyres going to last you? It's a totally different environment from what you're used to seeing in the standard league tiers, even towards PC F1 and PC Tier 1 tiers where the sports drivers that you do see, they're only 50% races. Now you've got to go double the distance. So it can certainly throw a spanner in the works and can certainly throw things up in the air and make things a little bit more exciting.
Certainly can, and... well, what a race ending. We have Duncan Hoffland in the waiting room. We'll drag him in quickly. That's Chuck on the interview screen. And
what?
Duncan, welcome in. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, Nathan.
Perfect. So, I mean, that was an interesting race. I think that's one word to use. Started P16, made some early moves early on. Then all of a sudden, you're up in P1 and leading comfortably.
Well, comfortably, I wouldn't really say that. I was a bit lucky with Otis disconnecting in that race, but I mean, he was lucky with the VSC early on, so I think that compensates. But no, anyway, I think it was good with Danny behind. He was playing it very smart for the long game. I was just waiting for him to get past, but then Leo was around, so I kind of used him in my advantage to take the win, and then he made a move into the final corner. I thought I would just let him go, but I had more battery, so I still finished P1 on track as well. So happy days.
Indeed, and of course, heading into the race, you would have saw the weather. You would have saw that there was wet weather on the way. What was your thoughts at that moment? Did you instantly try and change the setup, or did you just leave it as it is?
Well, I can't give anything away, Nathan. No, I saw. Yeah, I mean, I saw that there was barely any wet this race, so I was just going for a full dry setup and hope for the best. So yeah, if I change something in the pits or not, I'm not sure. I cannot remember. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Indeed, but it was a a really good race. Of course, Jenna, is that one of your strong tracks because you just seem to have decent pace overall compared to some of the others who normally would be on par with you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was last year PSGO. I got my first PSGO F1 race win here as well. So usually I struggle a little bit with pace, but it seems like in race scenarios it's going pretty well.
Indeed, and well, that's all from me, Duncan. Anything from you, Corey?
No, just a huge congratulations on that victory. And of course, when you saw Otis Lawrence with that disconnect, you took the opportune moment to try and charge on through and overtake the ghosted car in the S's. All I will say is, when you saw Otis, sort of as you come out of the exit, did you see him retake control of his car on the exit and maybe think, okay, now's the time he's going to charge back?
Well, I'm not entirely sure what the exact point was. I just went through him and he was still ghosted, so I was like, all right, happy with that. And then I saw him sort of like weaving a bit more when I came out. So wasn't sure if that was the AI or him, but yeah, it apparently was him. But yeah, very very unlucky for him to have that in this race.
No, but again, congratulations on your victory and some much needed points to propel you up the standings, and we can see what you can pull out next week.
Yes, thank you very much, guys.
Have a good one. See you later, Duncan. So next we have Deliberation 8. Danny, welcome in. So P2 in the end. I mean, like I said to Duncan, it was an interesting, insane race, and of course things started quite slowly. But as you got to that midpoint, the wet weather came, and then you started to move your way up to the front of the field. Do you think that wet weather was what helped you push forward?
Um, well, I don't know. I felt slow the whole race, but I just followed for most of the race Otis or Istvan and tried to capitalize on given opportunities. Strategically, we made the best call with all the pit stops. I cannot disclose yet who my engineer was, but with my future teammates. And also Otis disconnect obviously came a little bit lucky for me at the end to have any chance to fight for the victory instead of a podium finish. But at the race start, I got hit and I lost 5 or 6 positions by Istvan, so I dropped from P10 to P16. That was not ideal. I was a bit frustrated by that. But then it just made the race more interesting, and at the end, it didn't matter. Luca, I think that's how he is called, the Ferrari guy, with the fresh tires and 6 seconds of penalty, ruined my last lap chances a little bit, unfortunately. I didn't quite defend turn 1 and 2 because I thought that he will also wait for like a double pass opportunity, but he went for it, and then I was separated by him as well from Duncan. And in this game, the dirt air is just way too strong.
Yeah.
So, well, if you have 2 cars ahead of you, you are probably not finishing in front, no matter the track is. Here we have 3 DRS zones, and even like that, it was just hard to get closer unless the cars ahead did not have enough battery. So I hope the dirt air will be reduced a little bit, because it's very realistic the way it is, but you know, real life organizers would pay every single dollar that is possible to reduce the dirty air, and luckily we have opportunity to reduce it by just a little, so
Yeah.
we make racing wheel to wheel a little bit more exciting and easier, and then it's still enough to have the realism that this game requires. I think the last game's dirty air was quite good in the esports build of the game. The retail build was way too little, unfortunately. And also the slipstream is not that strong, so we cannot close as fast as, for example, we see closing between Lando and Oscar today on the Austrian GP. So these are my thoughts of the race and of the game. I'm happy that this performance put me where it put me, because I still see many opportunities to improve.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really great race. Of course, it was all over the place, and I don't think anyone really knew where they'd finish at any point into it. But heading into that initial start, what was your thoughts when you saw we had that wet weather on the way?
Well, the wet weather in Jeddah is always pretty exciting because it's a track where you usually don't see something like that. So I was just excited to try it out for the first time ever in my life.
And what was your thoughts? Because on our screen, it looks like everybody was sliding absolutely everywhere.
Yeah. Well, it's still, I think, in the wet, the tires can drift a bit too much without losing a significant amount of grip. And I would prefer if the driving required would be a little bit cleaner than this,
Mhm.
because it must look quite weird from the spectator, all this sliding around.
Yeah, it was interesting indeed. But that's all from me, mate. Congratulations on second. Anything from you, Corey, quickly?
No, just a congratulations to Berezny again. Like starting P12 couldn't have been easy outside of that top 10. You're sort of in the middle of the pack and everybody charging down to turn one. Got to keep your wits about you to avoid any incidents, but kept your nose clean, charged back up to P2 in the end, and of course trying to fight it out with that Ferrari and potentially gain for victory on Duncan Hoffland. What were your thoughts on Leo Lund though? Is he possibly a threat, although you knew you had the position regardless with the penalties?
I knew I had the position, and for this reason, I thought he maybe won't interfere that much for the race lead, because I guess he knew it as well. But at the end of the day, we are all trying to race competitively, and even if the penalties are applied by the game, you want to win on track. So probably I should have respected him a little bit better in terms of defending against him.
Yeah, no, again, it's lovely stuff, and congratulations on that P2, mate. It's a good points finish for you. And next week, maybe, could be your chance of the victory. You was close enough this week.
Thank you. See you next week then. Bye bye.
Right.
Bye bye. Right, there we go. Great to speak to Danny. Always up for a nice chat, and of course Duncan as well, our race winner earlier on. But I mean, we've had time to kind of sit down, debrief the race. It was interesting in saying all the words you can use, and but yeah, it was. I mean, heading into next week, of course, a track pool. If you want to pop that back up, we have still some very exciting circuits. What ones are you looking forward to the most, Corey?
Well, like I said, we can cross off Abu Dhabi, Belgium, and now Saudi Arabia. I'd love to see, I don't know, maybe Japan thrown in there. It's been rescanned, newly. I don't know what's the best way to say it. Newly gripped, I'd say. Everybody's still getting to terms with the new grip limits. Of course, we saw in 24 those apexes in Sector 1 were absolutely brutal and deadly. You couldn't afford to go anywhere near them with any tyre. It would just send the car in all sorts of directions. But in this new game, with that new LiDAR scan circuit, is there going to be an improvement in Japan? That's what I want to see. Japan certainly one to watch out for. Not only that, Bahrain as well.
Indeed, lots of exciting tracks still to go on this calendar. Of course, we'll be back next week for round 4 of the championship. I won't be here, unfortunately, but Corey will be alongside another commerce partner. And of course, before we go, sign-ups for season 21 are still live here for the World Online Racing Championships. Of course, head into the Discord, which I believe will be pinned somewhere on the YouTube About Me bio or in the chat. Head in, get yourself signed up. They close on the 11th of July at 12 a.m. So make sure to get your signed up nice and early, ready ahead of the new season. And of course, make sure to like and subscribe here on the WOR YouTube channel. It's been a pleasure to bring you some more action of the Ironman League alongside Corey Brooks. We'll be back next week for round 4 of the mystery 100% Timbo's Ironman League Championship. So make sure to keep tuned, and we'll see you next time. Good night.